Good morning everyone. My name is Ravi Bakshi. I'm basically from Yamunanagar. In my academic qualification, I'm a MBA graduate from Kurukshetra University, and from 2014 onwards, I'm serving Satyug Darshan Institute of Engineering and Technology as an assistant professor in the Department of Management Studies. So today we'll be discussing a topic which is financial economics. As we all know that finance is considered to be the lifeblood of any organization. No institution, company, government, economy can survive without finance, and finance is called as the provision of money at the time when it is required. And economics, we know that economics always deal with scarce resources. So here lies the importance of management professionals or a finance manager, that he has to apply financial economics, or he has to manage various financial resources to attain the objective of profit maximization and wealth maximization for his company. So what is financial economics basically? Financial economics is the study of countries' financial system. Now what is financial system? Financial system can be explained as a mechanism or is a platform where savings can easily be converted into investments. If we see in an economy, there are two parties. Party one is savers. Savers are also termed as household or the people who are having surplus money. On the contrary, we have second party who are users of money. That means there is a deficiency on their part. So they need a platform, they need a mechanism through which they can attain this money. So it is financial system who actually intervene or who actually provide a platform to both the parties where savings can easily be converted into investment. So surplus money can always be utilized by those who are having scarcity of funds, who are having scarcity of money, and whatever surplus they generate, they share the same with the savers. So it is equally important. So financial system is equally important for both the parties. It is a win-win situation for both savers as well as users of the money, or those who are having scarcity of funds in other terms. So if we talk about Indian financial system, Indian financial system is one of the strong financial system, I would say, in the world. It basically comprises of four components. So under Indian financial system, we have four components. First component is financial institutions. We call them FIs. Second component is financial markets. Third component is financial instruments. And fourth component is financial services. So let's take them one by one. What do we mean by financial institution? Financial institution is a fund provider, and in India we have two kinds of financial institution. They can be scattered into two parts: organized part and unorganized part. When we say organized, that means there is a governing body somehow, somewhere, who is responsible for taking the overall operation of organized part. And when we say unorganized part, that means they are running a parallel government, they are having their own resolutions, they are having their own rules, and they do not follow government rules or governing bodies rule. In organized, we can have two segments. One is banking, another one is NBFC. NBFC, we used to call them non-banking financial corporations. Both work under the supervision of RBI, Reserve Bank of India, who is supposed to regulate all the banking activities in the country. On the contrary, if you see unorganized part is constituted by private money lender and Sahukars. We also call them indigenous bankers. So they charge high rate of interest and they never follow the norms, the rules framed by Reserve Bank of India, which is the apex bank of the country. So let's move to the second component, financial market. So if we see, there are two words, financial and market. So let's understand first, what do we mean by market? Market is a place where buyer and seller meet and they exchange their needs. So financial market contains a place where both the parties exchange their financial needs. So in India, there are two kind of market. One is called capital market and another one is called money market. Now why these two different segregations? Because needs of consumer or company can have two different types, for shorter span of time and for longer span of time. If the needs of somebody is for longer span of time, he or she should deal with capital market, and if your needs are for less than 1 year or for shorter span of time, you should be in money market. So in capital market, again we have two segments. We have primary market and we have secondary market. This secondary market can also be termed as stock exchange. And governing body is SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India, which was constituted by government in the year 1992. The major objective of SEBI was to regulate the functioning of capital market, or in other terms, financial markets in the country. So what do we mean by primary market and secondary market? What's the difference? Difference is when a new security is going to be issued by a company in the market, that security will be issued in primary market. It's like that I want to buy a car, so I have two options. Either I can approach showroom directly, the service provider directly, or I can approach the OLX and other vendors. So if I wish to buy a new car, similarly if I wish to buy a new security, that means if a company for the very first time they are issuing shares, securities in the market, I have to approach primary market then. Or in other words, the company will be approaching primary market. And once the shares are sold in primary market and someone else wants to sell them, like if I as a buyer of the share, as an investor of the security, I purchased the security of Reliance Industries from primary market, and now I wish to sell them, I cannot sell them in primary market. For selling the same security, I need another market which is called secondary market or stock exchange. So in stock exchange, there is a trade of second-hand securities. So in other words, second-hand securities are traded in secondary market. That's why this market is separate. It's like OLX, that I purchase Maruti car or I purchase Hyundai car from a showroom or from the Hyundai or Maruti itself, but now I wish to resell them, so I have to approach OLX or some other mod, or in other car market where second hand cars are bought and sold. So similarly, if you wish to buy a new security, one should approach primary market. After buying it, after holding it for some time, if you wish to sell them, you need another market as an investor. So that additional market or other market is called secondary market or stock exchange. Let's come to the third component of financial system, which is called financial instrument. Now what are financial instruments? Financial instruments are the ways, they are the means through which your money will be embedded and will be invested. There are various money market instruments, there are various capital market instruments prevailing in the market, and an investor, according to his choice, according to his risk appetite, according to his capability, according to his knowledge, can pick and invest in such securities. For example, we have a security called equity, or you might have heard about stock. There is a difference between these two terms. One term is share, another term is stock. Share is that the whole capital of the company is divided into small part, and each small part is known as shares, and group of fully paid up shares is called stock. So kindly, if you see, there are two kind of stock. One is ordinary or common stock, and another one is preferred stock. In other terms, you can say that common stock is equity shares and preferred stocks, it is preference shares. So there are two kind of categories. Moreover, common stockholder are also termed as ordinary shareholders, and ordinary shareholders are considered as owner of the company. There is another category as I defined, preferred stock. Preferred stock are preference shareholder. Now why they are preference shareholder? Because they are having priority over equity shareholder in two cases. Number one, at the time of receiving dividend, and number two, at the time of liquidation. Preference stockholder are having priority to receive their principal money back. If a company went for or goes for winding up or liquidation, they are supposed to get their money back. So in these two areas they are having priority. That's why they are termed as preference stock or common stock. So this is one of the financial instrument. So if your risk appetite is very high, that means your risk taking capability is very high. So you must invest in equity, because equity contains maximum risk, highest risk in the market. It is the instrument which contains highest risk. On the contrary, we have debt instruments. Now what is debt instrument? That as an investor I am a risk averse. Like if we categorize the investor, there are two categories of investor. Number one is risk lover, second one is risk averse. Risk lover are those who wish to take highest risk or who wish to make more money, and there is a common phenomena, common saying, more risk more profit. So if you wish to make more profit, you have to take high risk, so that risk will be with equity. So you must invest in equity if you are a risk lover. But on the contrary, if your risk appetite is low, that means you do not wish to take more risk, you want to take moderate or low risk. In that case, another instrument, debt instrument, will help you out. Debt instrument contains debentures, bonds and other government securities. So if you invest in company's debenture, you must have known that it is like this 12% debenture. So here this 12% represents the rate of return. Suppose if you invest in a government security says you invest in bank FD. So bank FD is one of the financial instrument which offers you a fixed rate of return. Say for example it is 6.75%. You wish to make investment in PPF. PPF is another instrument. You wish to invest in mutual fund. Mutual fund is another instrument. So on the basis of nature of different instruments, they carry different rate of return, or they offer different returns to the different investors. So debenture is one of them. As I discussed, that 12% debenture means 12% represents the rate of return. Similarly, bonds are having different categories. If you ask me, in developed economies, bond are considered as more safer instrument as compared to debentures. Bonds are more safer than debentures, right? But in Indian context, there is no difference between debenture and bonds, they are same. Moreover, in foreign countries or in developed economies, I would say bonds are issued by corporates, but in India, bonds are issued by government only. So people or investor, they can make investment or they can choose a financial instrument depends upon their risk appetite. If somebody's risk appetite or risk taking capability is high, he or she can opt for common stock or equity which contains high risk, and if your risk appetite is moderate or low, you can choose debentures, bonds and government securities which are safer investment for you. Let's come to the last segment, which is called as financial services. Again, there are two components, financial and service. What is service? Service is a intangible benefit provided by service provider. So it is a benefit which is intangible in nature. What is intangibility? Intangibility means you cannot touch, you cannot see, you can just feel it. Like if you go to a restaurant, if you go to a mall, if you go to a hotel and we take lunch or dinner over there, you cannot express your views because everything is inside you. So that feeling is called service. So you give remarks or feedback based upon your feeling, whether the service was good, moderate, or excellent, right? In the same manner, what is financial service? Financial service means when you are receiving these benefits in terms of financials, in terms of finance, we call them financial services. So if we see, there are again two segments here. They are fund-based financial service and fee-based financial service. Now, what do you mean by fund-based financial service and fee-based financial service? In case of fund-based financial service, you will receive fund as a service or money as a service. Whereas on the contrary, in case of fee-based financial service, you will receive consultancy or financial assistance in terms of decision, which will later help you in decision making, right? It is like that I am suffering from fever and I approach a doctor, and doctor says, okay, your body is suffering from fever, kindly take this medicine, and he provides the medicine also. So that doctor is like fund-based service provider, because he is consulting you, moreover he is providing you the medicine at the same time. On the contrary, you approach another doctor and that doctor only diagnoses your body and tells you that you are suffering from this particular disease and I am recommending these medicines, you can go in the market and can have this. So he or she is charging consultancy fee for the same. So in this case, that doctor is like fee-based financial service provider, because he's just giving you consultancy, not providing you money, not providing you anything else, right? So example of fund-based financial service is insurance. For example, if I have a term insurance and after expiry of the time period, I'll get money. Or in case of any demise, my family will get money, funds, rupee, cash. So insurance is one of the fund-based financial service. Fund-based financial service can also be termed as asset-based financial service. So another service can be factoring. Now what is factoring? Factoring is an arrangement between company and a financial institution who is working or acting as a factor in the market and customers. Suppose a company provides credit to its customer for 3 months and company has blocked rupees 50 lakh in that, and suddenly after 1 month company needs money, so company cannot approach their customer because it can hamper its image, its goodwill in the market. So what a company can do, company can hand over all the bills receivable which they have received from their customer to a bank who is indulged in this kind of service. So company will hand over all the BRs and this financial institution will give money or fund to the company just after 1 month. So this kind of arrangement between a company and a financial institution who is acting as a factor is termed as factoring. This is again a fund-based financial service. Last service we can have in this segment is leasing, in which one person is having a property but he is not using it. Another person is not having so much fund that he or she can afford a property. So he can have a lease agreement between with the owner of that property holder. So there are two parties in it. One is called a lessor, another is called lessee. So lessor is the owner of that property and there will be a lease agreement between these two. Lessee is supposed to use the property or asset and will give lease rent to the lessor and will bear the risk. So if we talk about fee-based financial service, in fee-based financial service we have merchant banking services and brokerage. Like if you wish to invest in stock market, as I discussed, in primary market or secondary market, you cannot move directly. You need a broker. Broker is an intermediary between market and the investor. So with the help of broker, you can do that. So this was the entire explanation of financial economics. So in other words, I can say that financial economics is nothing but it is the study of a country's financial system, and a country's financial system is very important for the economic growth of that nation. As you see that all banks, markets, instruments and services, they contribute towards growth of a country. If a banking system of a country is strong, markets are strong, you will feel that GDP of that nation is will be very strong, or people of that country will definitely grow. So financial system plays a very vital role, a key role in the upliftment of an economy. Thank you very much.